Hello and welcome to this training video. The heart of creating and running a successful SocioMole campaign lies in the words and phrases you add into the campaign whitelist, the blacklist and the responses. The words and phrases of the whitelist define which tweets you want SocioMole to find, analyse for relevancy and mood, and then respond within a preset time. The blacklist is where you tell the system which words or phrases, if found within a tweet, means SocioMole should not respond. We will explore this in more detail in a moment. The decision taken by the system of whether to respond to or ignore tweets is very important. It is by this include or exclude process that you enable automated responses and engagement with your target audience. The system, when properly briefed by your lists and responses, can appear very natural and make the best of social media for your business. However, it is wise to just reflect that SocioMole, although very advanced and extremely flexible, is a software package and only able to act on the instructions you give it. There used to be a saying that explained why computers sometimes did the wrong things. It was called GIGO and stood for garbage in, garbage out. Pretty self-explanatory, really. Therefore, we know that the more thought and time you put into constructing your campaign phrases, the better the results are likely to be. The time and effort in instructing SocioMole through the white and black lists before you start a campaign will be very well spent. The system allows you to continue adapting and fine-tuning the relevancy of the lists over time. In fact, you have 180 days from the campaign start date in which to edit the lists and responses. So, learning over time means you have the power to develop very powerful campaigns. By the way, once the 180 days edit window closes, your campaign still runs indefinitely and you can stop, start or archive it whenever it suits your business needs. Given the importance of getting your lists and responses right, we've put together this video to take you through this step by step. For the purposes of this video, we will assume that you have logged in and are at the dashboard. Also, we are proceeding on the basis that you already have a campaign that has a title, a description, a start date, its social media profile assigned, and, of course, a licensed user. Here at the dashboard, click the Campaigns tab. Then click on Active Campaigns and select the campaign you are working on from your list. Next, click the Edit tab and then click on Dictionaries. You now have access to a pane on the left for a whitelist and another on the right for the blacklist. This is where you add the words and phrases to instruct SocioMole on which tweets to look for and how to exclude tweets you don't want to respond to. There will be tweets that may contain relevant words or phrases but do not meet your campaign criteria. This may be because of additional words or abbreviations that change the overall meaning. For example, a tweet including the keywords "need an electrician" has the meaning completely reversed by the addition of start or end words. Your whitelist is looking for "need an electrician", but these words form only part of a tweet. In this example, the tweet actually says, "You won't need an electrician." Had this phrase been in your blacklist, it would have prevented SocioMole from making your pitch for electrical services. As you can now see, such a response would not be appropriate. So, just to recap, we have noted that all the words and phrases you are trying to identify and respond to are included in your whitelist. The words and phrases that you want to have SocioMole ignore are defined in the blacklist. As we are focused on Twitter, we need to ensure that our lists allow for the 140 character limit. This will be even more important in creating the responses you want to use. For example, by including a shortened URL in your response using SocioMole's URL shortening automated feature, you will use up 22 of the 140 characters. The Twitter handle will also require up to 20 characters, including the @ symbol. Don't worry about this, as we will cover it later. To recap, you clicked the Campaigns tab on the dashboard and then selected the campaign you are working on from your list. Next, you clicked the Edit tab and then clicked on Dictionaries. You now have access to a pane for the whitelist and another for the blacklist, and we can get started. Let's take a simple subject as our example campaign. This will allow us to explore and demonstrate the creation and fine-tuning of the lists and also the responses to the target tweeters. We will set up a campaign for an imaginary solicitor practice wishing to identify people needing employment advice. Of course, campaigns can be for anything, but the process and hints we give with our imaginary firm are valid for any white and black lists being created. In the whitelist, you need to enter phrases which are relevant to the services offered and using words and spellings that your audience are likely to use. In other words, you need to think through the many ways tweeters will indicate a need for your services. This is a part of your preparation that rewards the time and effort you put into it. Often, it's a good idea to get a pen and paper and just start writing down as many phrases as you can that could indicate a need you can help with. Here we can see some of the possible phrases such as just been sacked, been made redundant, they've suspended me, got a disciplinary hearing to attend, and just been fired. These are all phrases that when included in a tweet could well indicate possible prospects for our imaginary employment law services. There would be many more such phrases to add to the whitelist. An experienced employment lawyer would know from the type of work he undertakes what those words and phrases were. More importantly, they'd know the type of client they act for and the way they talk. In writing the phrases for both of the lists, it's important to include spelling errors, abbreviations, and slang that might apply. In one phrase we just mentioned we had gotta, which will appear as well as the more correct got to. If we take the short phrase, just been fired, we would need to consider whether there are any other subject areas where this phrase might be used, such as in a shoot-'em-up game. As this phrase is also Sir Alan Sugar's catchphrase in The Apprentice, the blacklist phrases might include The Apprentice has, On the Apprentice, Alan Sugar said, and other words and phrases linked to the TV show. Again, we need to bear in mind that many Twitter users shorten and abbreviate their tweets to limit their message to 140 characters. So they'll drop an I in I need a holiday and say instead, need a holiday. Similarly, you should use the blacklist if you want to exclude other people's tweets who are operating on Twitter in the same area. For example, you might have other employment law firms using tweets to drum up business. So you don't want SocioMole responding to their tweets. To avoid these kinds of inappropriate responses, you will want to input phrases like do you need, can recommend, are you looking for, and want help from. The inclusion of these phrases in the blacklist will allow SocioMole to identify and exclude tweets that include these and similar phrases. As these are from sales pitches from other companies, it makes sense to ignore them. So, just to be clear, the whitelist needs to contain as many possible phrases and variations of spelling and abbreviation as you can think of. Don't be too concerned about getting everything right at day one. You'll be watching tweets and seeing new possible keywords and phrases over the days and weeks as your campaign proceeds. You can now make notes of new phrases and then use the edit function to add new phrases and, if necessary, delete some that you now realise are not suitable. SocioMole is built to support this evolution and fine-tuning. For that reason, you have the ability to edit the lists and responses for 180 days. That's 6 months from the start date of the campaign. After that time, the ability to change is locked out, but the campaign can run for as long as you like. Thinking about the whitelist, it can contain single word entries, short phrases, or use up the full 140 characters. But using just single words, also called keywords, presents its own peculiar challenges. The reason is that giving SocioMole just one word as a means of identifying tweets could end up with many tweets that on closer inspection are nothing to do with what you are looking for. Although a tweet is limited to 140 characters, the English language can use that count to express a vast range of tweets. SocioMole looks for an exact match as it checks all the tweets in the selected target area. So one-word entries in the whitelist will have SocioMole finding you tweets where that one word can be used in a variety of ways. It will identify the tweets but not take into account the many ways that keyword is being used. To exclude tweets that use the word in other ways than you're looking for would require a massive blacklist of word combinations. Our advice, therefore, is to first populate the whitelists with word combinations and phrases rather than a single word. Of course, there could be exceptions if you make something unique that has a unique name. Once the campaigns are running and the white and black lists are growing, you might then, with experience, be able to look at some single word additions. The white and black lists having been added to, you also need to be looking at the phrases SocioMole can use to respond. As with the white and black lists, the secret to a successful campaign is variety. You want to engage with the target audience in a natural way. SocioMole empowers this on a 24/7, 365-day basis through its never-resting automated scanning of the Twitter sphere. You can, at any time, step in and take over a conversation manually. But when you're sleeping and SocioMole isn't, you want it to have the widest possible range of response phrases to draw upon and thus appear as though you were responding. For that reason, we have provided a range of options that allow you to create and categorise the responses into 3 stages. We identify the 3-stage process as the initial response, the conversation tweet, and finally, the sales pitch response. The initial contact is, as the name implies, the first tweet sent out once SocioMole has followed the tweeter. So this is the first time the identified tweeters are hearing from you, which is pretty important. You need this initial tweet to be crafted to appear relevant and human. Again, this is where time is very well spent with paper and pen, preferably with a few colleagues throwing in their ideas. You can create as many of these initial responses as you like. The next stage is what we call conversation, and it is, as you'd expect, a very general tweet and part of SocioMole's ability to appear like a real person. If you are using the full 3-stage approach, this tweet is the friendly and human-like bridge between the first tweet and going in for the sales pitch. As the name implies, the more relaxed and conversational the responses are, the better the results you can achieve. Don't forget that SocioMole, although 24/7 and 365 automated, allows you to step in at any point and tweet personally into the conversation. You can use the campaign monitoring to see real-time tweets and responses and decide where and when it's appropriate, if at all, for you to make your own response. Then finally, there is the sales pitch, or the call to action tweet. You have identified tweeters via the white and black lists because you want them to do something. This third tweet is where you tell them what that is. This might be a tweet including a web address, for example. The dashboard includes an automatic URL shortener that will turn your typed web address into a tiny URL. All such addresses are treated by Twitter as 22 characters. So you need to be aware of this when creating your response tweets, as a maximum tweet can only use 140 characters. You will see when you create a response that there is a character count displayed in the right-hand corner of the box. It counts 120 characters, which is 20 less than the default 140 Twitter allows you. As each handle can be up to 20 characters, including the @ symbol, we account for this to ensure your tweet is successful. If you want to add a URL at the end of a response, the system will shorten the web address you have typed to 22 characters. To make the whole exchange of tweets appear natural and human, you can elect to make your campaign deliver a full conversation by using all the options above. If you want to go straight in with a sales pitch, then you may choose to simply add your sales pitch to the initial contact. The choice is yours. SocioMole allows you to add multiple variations of phrases in each section. The more variety, the more natural it will appear. The system will randomly select one variation from the correct section. One of SocioMole's most powerful features is its ability to detect and match the mood of tweets. The technical term for this is sentiment analysis. The sentiment dictionary allows you to further tailor your responses to meet certain moods. The system can analyse tweets and match them to one of the 8 moods commonly used in social media. These are anticipation, fear, disgust, surprise, joy, trust, sadness, and anger. So, if you think a lot of your targeted users will be angry, then you can tailor your response to be specific to an angry user. Likewise, for any of the other 7 moods. You have the option to set the response to be couched in the first or third person, and a generic response if required. This just helps to make the responses appear as natural as possible. So, there you have it. I hope this video helps you get started on some successful campaign lists and responses. Please don't forget that Ivan, the SocioMole, and the team at Sociosciences are always working hard digging up new and better ways to make the most of social media for your business. The SocioMole team are on hand to help you. Please don't hesitate to follow the links from the SocioMole website if you need assistance. SocioMole. Connect, innovate, explore.